Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for coming out. It's good to see you all. My name is Shane. I'm the Current Affairs Specialist for the Spokane Public Library. I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. I'm on the traditional homelands of the 4 bands of the Spokane Tribe of Indians: Upper Band, Middle Band, Lower Band, Chewelah Band. Since time immemorial, the Spokane Tribe of Indians has lived and cared for these grounds, identifying themselves as flesh of the earth. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We show gratitude to the land, river, and peoples who have been fishing, hunting, harvesting, and gathering here for generations. May we learn from one another's stories so that we may nurture the relationship of the people of the Spokane tribe and to all those who share this land. It just occurred to me, I had ChatGPT-4 write an introduction for Travis, and it's sitting on the printer over there, so rather than go get it, I'll just hand it over to him. I think he plans on introducing himself anyway, so I think that'll be sufficient.
My talk is on exploring AI and creativity. Welcome. The goal of this talk is to introduce people, you, to some creative AI tools and their possibilities. Am I too close? And so exploring the intersection of AI and creativity. I've been on sabbatical for the past year researching this. It's been a banner year. I had to fight for my sabbatical 2 years ago because the powers that be didn't believe that I knew what I was talking about, and last June things started happening. About me, I'm a complex phrase fan doer and reformed karaokeist in the Spokane scene about 15 years ago. For the past 10 years, I've wandered freely in the realm of higher education and reality design. I'm a Bauhaus fanboy and child of postmodernism, existing on rear-view sweet spots and remixed aesthetics. Spokane, Washington, born and raised. I'm a design, art, tech head producing at the intersection of craft and experience. All-around professional doodler on a quest to develop visual systems that promote and inspire wonder. That's my mission. I came up with that about 8 years ago. So, thank you. Thank you to the Spokane Public Library and Shane Gronholtz for inviting me to do this workshop and hosting cool public events in Spokane. Thanks for making sure Spokane doesn't suck. This image was created by one of my students for a talk I gave this past winter. I sent just the base image, and they made a whole movie poster about it. It's giant and hangs in the Catalyst building where we teach our design classes for Eastern Washington University. The title of my talk back then was The Wisdom to Hope for the Now. I'm an eternal optimist. I've done everything I possibly could to dead end my life, and I keep on winning. So I just keep hoping for the now to keep happening as good as it has been. So, but first, you're here for a talk about AI and creativity, I hope, not conspiracy theories or how robots are going to take over the world or all the dangers of it. I've been on a mission to explore how to use this tool to enhance and move forward as creative individuals. I'm aware of the other stuff, but the talk is going to be mostly focused on creativity and how to use these tools to leapfrog, if you will. But first, a small video that I will to show the capabilities. This was done by Gary Simon. It's called The Battle of Pixel Peak. It was done in only 12 hours, which if you've done any video work or you've tried to write a story or you've tried to make illustrations, you know most of that stuff takes much more than 12 hours. And so I'll play this clip and to kind of set the tone.
Hello? I don't actually exist. My voice has been modeled to sound like that British guy who narrates nature documentaries. What you're about to watch is an epic story, conceived by a prompt engineer known as Gary Simon. If you'd like to know how he did it, check out the top link here in the YouTube description. Now, on with the story. Once upon a time in the fantastical land of Pixel Peak, two formidable tribes existed. The intuitive UI/UX designers and the crafty front-end developers. For generations, these tribes coexisted harmoniously, working together to create magnificent websites and applications that were both functional and visually captivating. However, their peace was tenuous. held together by a mutual understanding that each tribe had its place in the grand scheme of the digital world. But as time went on, boundaries blurred. The tribes began encroaching on each other's territory, with UI/UX designers insisting on pixel-perfect implementation and front-end developers demanding more input in the design process.
The logo needs to pop.
The tension between them grew, fueled by the whispered words of the mischievous master of miscommunication. And so it began, the battle that would determine the fate of Pixel Peak and the digital world. A battle so epic that it would be remembered for generations to come. The first strike was launched by the front-end developers. Using their mastery of HTML, they erected a wall of div tags separating the two tribes. But the UI/UX designers, armed with their powerful grid systems, quickly aligned the blocks, dissolving the barrier and forging a clear path to the front-end developers' base. Enraged, the front-end developers retaliated with a barrage of JavaScript code, firing event listeners at the UI/UX designers like arrows. But the designers, skilled in the art of responsive design, fluidly dodged the attacks, returning fire with a series of weaponized wireframes. The developers, distracted by the onslaught, found their fingers ensnared in a web of bootstrap code, the very framework they had once championed. Seeing their comrades in peril, the front-end developers regrouped, employing their most powerful ally, CSS. The developers focused their efforts, setting the z-index of the UI/UX designers to -1, effectively banishing them to the netherworld of the internet. With a haughty laugh, the developers believed they had secured victory. However, the UI/UX designers, trained in the ancient art of usability, refused to accept defeat. Drawing upon their knowledge of user personas and empathy maps, they channeled their collective strength and fought back. Using their keen eye for visual hierarchy, they reduced the opacity of their torment to 0%, allowing them to emerge from the shadows. The front-end developers, shocked by the UI/UX designers' resilience, scrambled to counter their next move. But the designers were relentless, hurling high-fidelity mock-ups like projectiles and flooding the battlefield with a sea of color palettes. The developers, overwhelmed by the beauty and precision of the attack, faltered. Desperate, the front-end developers tried one final gambit. With a surge of energy, they unleashed a torrent of CSS animations, turning the battlefield into a chaotic whirlwind of spinning and scaling elements. But the UI/UX designers, ever adaptable, countered with a barrage of micro-interactions, grounding the chaos and restoring order to the field. As the dust settled, the front-end developers, battered and weary, realized the futility of their efforts. The UI/UX designers, still standing strong, had emerged victorious. It was then that the wise elder of the UI/UX designers approached the defeated front-end developers. Instead of gloating, she offered her hand in peace, reminding them of the harmony they once shared. Now that your mind has been melted into a puddle of AI disbelief, what would you say if I told you that you could make something similar in less than a single day?
So that's pretty cool, right? That was done in 12 hours. Normally, I went to school for art and design, and that kind of stuff still takes forever. And it's not quite polished or done, but even to get to a point like that would have been months, and usually not by yourself. So, but first, I thought we'd talk about what is AI, because there's a lot of us have seen some movies like Terminator or Black Mirror, or have some concepts from the media that have maybe stretched it a little bit, what it is and what it isn't. So, all the content in this slideshow was generated by, all the words were generated by ChatGPT, edited by me. All the images were generated by Midjourney. So a nice definition: artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science, so it's something you can go study. Enables machines to mimic intelligent human behavior. Mimic, keyword mimic, not become. So, real-world applications. So it's been around for quite a while, so it's in kind of everything we're doing: self-driving cars, medical diagnosis, fraud detection, customer service, productivity. And then future potential AI's ability to learn and adapt could lead to profound changes in various industries. It's already happening. It's happening really fast. I wake up every Monday, read a bunch of newsletters, and my brain melts and explodes, and I kind of come back to earth a little bit. I took some classes last fall, a class from Google called AI for Everyone. If you're really curious, it's a free class you can take. It's like down here, like you can digest it. Was medical diagnosis and things that are happening in computer vision where AI is able to detect eye diseases faster and better than doctors with minimal imaging pictures of eyes, which I think is pretty fascinating. Could catch eye diseases and other diseases sooner, so make us healthier. So, also, this is a very optimist-centered talk. So, I have these 2 remember slides after each section. So, make a dent in the universe, AI plus creativity. So, just kind of my little propaganda schemes to when you walk away from here. Remember, AI is not about technology, it's about enhancing human capability and transforming the way we live and work. Whenever anybody gets scared or asks me if I'm scared, I lived through the 90s, and I remember how much my parents were afraid of email and how it was going to take away their jobs and how the internet was going to take away their jobs and there weren't going to be any jobs. And there are tons of information jobs now. So I see this as a next transformation in that way of working. So, brief history of AI, the evolution of artificial intelligence. Early beginnings, AI's history dates back to early computing. In grad school, I researched Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace. They're kind of considered the invention of the first computer, or the idea of the first computer, and Ada Lovelace, the first concepts of what software would be. And I love this quote from Ada Lovelace in 1843. Supposing, for instance, that the fundamental relations of pitch sounds in the science of harmony and of musical compositions were susceptible of such expression and adaptations, the engine might compose elaborate and scientific pieces of music of any degree of complexity or extent. It's pretty prescient of her foresight, and I just love that idea that a female came up with this idea, and I love to point out Ada anytime I get the chance, and that even that far back we were thinking about these machines helping us be creative, right? I even made sure I had a citation for this, that I wasn't making it up. I actually asked, I was like, is this a real quote? I asked, because was a robot just trying to get me to promote it, and got the citation and went and looked to make sure the book was real. Because that's the thing I'm finding. The more knowledge you actually have in the world, the more ability to have fact check, the more the tool works for you. You can't just blindly believe it. So, I'm really interested in technology and history. So, 1950, Alan Turing comes up with the idea of the Turing test and what we'd do to test if a machine had intelligence. The 50s and 60s sees a period of surge in interest in AI, what we'd call general AI, what we've all been the holy grail, a real thinking robot that can answer like a human, was heavily backed and funded in the 50s and 60s. It was a dead end, and what really started to come into fruition is what we have today is narrow AI that can do specific tasks really well. The 70s and 80s, funding dried up. They call it the AI winter because nothing was happening, but a lot of the ideas and the algorithms that are powering our AI today were developed at that time, and the scientists that were doing it were told they were heading down dead ends, which is pretty cool. Thank gosh they didn't, because we have these cool tools that we have today. The 90s, we get a resurgence due to improved computing power. And that's what's driving really all the algorithms, the technology that developed in the 90s and 2000s is really actually working because of the compute power that we have now. And I'm vastly oversimplifying this because it would be really boring to talk about the nitty-gritty. Not to me, but probably to you. The modern era, today AI is part of everything, I would say, especially in the past 6 months, but we need to be aware of bias, so data sets that the AI are trained on. Explainability, is it truth, right? Safety, control, and then ethics. How do we ethically use this tool? How do we teach our kids to ethically use this tool? AI is the new canvas of creativity. We're the ones who will color it with imagination. So, what I found as a human using this tool is the more experience. I've been making art for 25 years, and because of my experience and my research and my knowledge of the world, I can use this tool in a really cool way. I can remix my thoughts in it. And so what I'm finding is all the life experience I have makes the tool better. Does that make sense? Because that's a fear I hear in the higher ed scene of like, the kids won't think anymore. And I'm like, maybe they'll just think differently. I'll let you read that. The role of AI in today's world, it's a game changer. That's like, it is, I'm programming my own AI bot on my own data and art of past 25 years because all I want to do is talk about me. Really, I just want to find insights, like what does it see and what doesn't it see? And so I'm working at that level, but that ability to do that is there. And I'm using an AI to help me code it. Like I'm asking it questions about, like, help me do this, help me do that. How do I do that? And I've never been able to do that before. If you've ever gone to Stack Overflow and like some pros answered a question, you're like, but what about, how do you know that? Like, what is that? What about that? And usually it's just like, just plug it in, you'll figure it out later. I don't like to work, I like to figure things out now. And so my favorite thing I've been using ChatGPT for is, if I don't know something, I say, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old. And then I tell it to use the same metaphor. So build on that same metaphor through the way. And if I get lost, where I get lost, I can start asking more questions right there. That's pretty powerful and awesome. And it helps me learn faster. And I see my own holes because of it. So the future of AI, solving complex problems. Probably the third or fourth question I asked ChatGPT was, how do we fix the Earth? And it just fed me the standard stuff that we already know is wrong. I didn't go any deeper, but maybe with some curious kids, we can find some solutions to that, and they can solve those problems, right? Automation. The first thing I did with ChatGPT was I would write the rudest, most raw email back to someone who I was angry at, and then I would plug it into ChatGPT, and I would say, please write this in a kinder way. That's like the first thing I just used it for, to make sure I wasn't making people angry. And that was really nice, because it usually took me a long time to edit out all my raw feelings and emotions. So, personalization. This is happening with Khan Academy. They just released a beta version of an AI tutor / counselor that every kid will eventually, their hopes, have access to. I'm kind of excited that when I was a little kid, I didn't grow up in the best spaces, but if I could have had an AI tutor / career counselor that I could go to when things were getting tough, that would have been pretty rad. But it'll happen in other places, in many other places. Innovation, I've already seen the way that I think being more innovative. And then real life impact. So education, entertainment, art, design, writing, translation, accelerating scientific research. I just read an article, I don't know if you did, that due to some AI stuff, algorithms, they've been able to find a test that can find pancreatic cancer 3 years earlier. Like, that's pretty wild. That's pretty awesome. I'm here for advanced medical research. The problems, potential harm to individuals, job losses, that's the number one thing you hear. Creation of inequality, I would say more, right? We have, I think, technological inequality, right? But the opposite could be technological equality. And then manipulation. So I won't go into those things. They're easy to find online. What I would say is try to not, I was telling, what was your name? Eric. Worrying about ChatGPT doing the bad actors or whatnot, it's like worrying about nuclear bombs. Like, you can't. You can, but it'll keep you up all night. There's this powerful tool in the world. It's here. The good actors and the bad actors are using it, and we have to hope that we all want this spaceship to exist on the planet, and hopefully it does. So I like this. Oh, I had ChatGPT write these these little things. I said I need 10 little taglines for the top of my slide, and they were really kitschy at first, so I asked it to tone it down. Then I asked it to write it like Steve Jobs and another technologist, and they were really too corny. So then I just asked it to write 10 with no. I gave it just write me 10 on your own. And the first ones it spit out before that I did that, it wrote them, and then it just wrote author anonymous. And I was like, did you write these? And it said yes. And I was like, okay. So, understanding AI, the basics. I think I found a way to explain this as easy as I can. I had it really high level, and I kept asking for better. And my wife finally said, that sounds about right. So an easy explanation, AI system use tons of data to get really good at stuff through trial and error. So that's the easiest way I can explain that without going deeper. You could say they learn from experience without actual experience. And that's where I think we come in, our actual world experience, as a guidepost or bumpers at a bowling alley, right? I really like this analogy. We're babysitting these robots. Think of an AI as an obedient child with superhuman abilities, but no intuition or common sense. It learns from experience without having any, needs constant guidance, and will keep consuming data endlessly without pause or reason. That's all it wants is data. Thank goodness that's all we've been creating for the past 20 years. So AI may be getting smarter, but it will never truly grow up. I don't know about that last part, but I liked how it sounded. So AI systems can learn from data. They can get smarter over time. They can spot complex patterns. They don't get tired, are data hungry, are narrow in scope. They lack emotion and empathy, and they require human input and oversight. As I've been writing with ChatGPT, one of my favorite things is to help me write better, but whenever I give my writing to a human, I feel vulnerable, criticized. I get you just can't see my vision. Anybody? But when ChatGPT does it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. It's like my little writing buddy that knows me, but it doesn't have any feelings, and I'm not mad at it. And it's helped me so much. And I've wanted to be a good writer, but I've just never been able to get over that hurdle. And so it's really helping me in that space. I wrote a draft for a conference proposal a few weeks ago, and I sent it out to a couple of friends that are really good writers, and they had some comments, and I was like, they just can't see my vision. And then I read it better and settled down. I was like, oh, they're right. That's the computer writing it. There has to be a human component and some logic in there too. So it's an assistance. It's not an instead of. So breathe life into algorithms. Just like you, AI is always learning and improving, but AI also has limitations. It lacks life experience, emotion, common sense that humans have gained over time. And so I'll say again, it's the fear of parents. I hear that a lot, fear of parents when I talk to parents. They're worried about their kids, or do we need to learn anything? And the whole idea is you learn in a domain, and then you get to use this tool to accelerate in that domain or be better in that domain. And so your life experience, what you read, actually matters, because to be able to have a good conversation with even GPT, or how to write things, how to describe things, I see learning becoming even more important, but also easier to do with these tools. So on to the good part, on the reason you're here, the creativity part. I just thought it was good to have a good baseline of what AI is and what it can do before we was hey, here's the fun stuff. I feel like every week there's just more stuff to use. There's just new tools. What Shane was saying, the $20 seems to be about the base rate. And so I don't know how many back in the olden days, but even before I started using computers, we would terminal into a mainframe. You'd have something like this, but there was you'd go to a mainframe. You'd pay for terminal space at a university. You'd go there to be on the terminal to access the mainframe, and you'd pay for that. We're kind of back there again. This stuff takes compute power, massive compute power to do this stuff, right? We're finally there. We have it, but it costs money to run it, right? And so basically your price you're paying to access these is you're paying for time on them. You get credits or tokens to run on their computer, on their data center, okay? And so $20 seems to be about what everybody's agreed on is like a agreeable amount for about a month of usage. And some platforms you get a bucket of I'm gonna call them tokens to use, and some you get unlimited use, right? I have the standard Midjourney account. I've been just pumping out prompts this month, like trying to get to the end of my usage this month, and I haven't reached it, and it renews in 10 days. And I have like 607 image and that's my upscaled images. That's not my prompts. And so ChatGPT, I have a ChatGPT, Claude, that's this one, and Poe. Poe is like the friendly version of Claude. Claude's like this big, giant ChatGPT large language model version. And Google's Bard. I have all three of them open all day long, and I'm back and forth because one will give me. I'm like, what does this one say? I'm like, but it's just something I use all day long now, and it's on my phone. If I'm in a fight with my wife, I'll say, my wife and I were in a fight. Please act as a cognitive behavioral therapist and tell me I'm right. It never does. It never does. It never does. It never does. It tells me to go see our therapist. Our relationships are hard. Asks me for more information about the fight. Usually gets me to admit I'm wrong. But these three here, Dream Studio, DALL-E 2, and Midjourney are the three top image generators right now. They are like the public ones. This is ChatGPT here. This is Bard and Claude. And so I'll go over what these two. I haven't used Adobe Firefly yet. I've been teaching Adobe products, and I'm Adobe allergic, I guess. But from what I've heard, it's actually a pretty good tool. So I only have so much bucket of funds before my wife would be like, okay, what's going on here? So to start, large language models, what are they? Are AI systems trained on huge data sets of text that can generate language and adapt their responses based on the context they are used in. So when you hear it, everybody calls them LLMs, okay? There are way more than this. There's companies figuring out how to get them to run just on your phone, so you can have your own model trained on your own data. That's what I'm working on right now, so I can just basically talk to myself about all the information on my hard drives from the past 25 years and see what's wrong with me. Nothing. That was a joke. It was a joke. Okay. I use ChatGPT for idea generation, and I've been using it the longest, so I kind of am more familiar with it. Poe and Claude. Claude is a better writer. It's better at taking content from ChatGPT and asking it to fix it. It's a little bit more professional, it feels like. Bard is Google's thing. I don't know. It has access to the internet. So anything I want to ask questions that are, so these two models, Poe and Claude, or ChatGPT and Claude, I think ChatGPT was 2021 the last time it was allowed access to the internet. So anything after 2021, it will tell you I don't know because I don't have access. Claude's the same way. It has a break date. It's a little later. Bard has access to everything that Google has access to. You just have to learn how to ask for it. There are tools that are letting us add stuff. You can copy and paste a link to some websites to ChatGPT and say, analyze this website for me, and it can do it. It just can't go there directly. So you kind of have to feed it. Being AI, one only has so much bandwidth, but it does weird things, and I feel like Microsoft wanted it to be more emotional and have more of a human feeling. So all the weird stuff you hear mostly is people interacting with Bing AI and getting it to like its breakpoints and like. So it's not my favorite, but these are links, and again, these are all in there. There's so many more too. So what they are in terms of what I've been using them for, what I think the power of them: creative writing and storytelling, social media content generation. Anybody tried to write a social media post and you're like, it's not good, and then you see people that are writing good ones. Now every social media post can be a great social media post. I use it to write posts to promote this event. It uses way better. I'm like learning how to use emojis like the right way. I'm like, oh, that makes sense to use it that way. Okay. Script writing and plans, personalized inspiration and idea generation, adaptive co-creation with the large language model, new styles and forms of creative expression, and then feedback improvement. I do that a lot. I'll take something I've written, I'm like, please critique this, and then you can do it from a specific voice. So I usually use it knows who my director in grad school was, and because I want some more punishment, I'll ask it to critique from his point of view. So here's things I've done with ChatGPT. All I did in the beginning was have it rewrite my emails. I was like, we'll see where this thing's going. And then the second thing I did, I would just ask it to act as a cognitive behavioral therapist. It was pretty close to my actual therapist, so I stopped going to my therapist. No, my therapist said we were good. Coding, I've used it to code an app that I'm working on for a class I'm finishing, a camera app in Swift. Presentation outlines, awesome for that. Titles for presentations, so I wrote a proposal for a presentation about AI and creativity, but it's geared for an AI design conference. But I was like, everybody is going to be just talking about AI. What's my special thing as a design educator? And so I came to I'm a first generation college student, so I started looking at it. Helped me come up with this idea, and it's actually I believe in it. It's that these tools could help first generation students jump up into the line and be competitive in the job market. That because the hot thing in my field is called generative design. It has to do with coding. As a first generation student, a lot of my students are trying to figure out how not to take math. That kind of takes them out of the running for those jobs. And so what I've seen is the ability for this to help those students level that playing field, right? So take down equality. So my presentation that I proposed is to talk about this as a tool to help first generation students get the support they need to have a successful career, and not just be relegated to the workers of those students that are going to Yale or the high level design colleges. So UW even, right? So as a professor, something I have to do is write citations for papers. I've never understood MLA, APA, Chicago. I was like, whatever. And then I used to just go to a website and plug it in. I did a citation. I was like, what are these actually? And I didn't have to dig. Has anybody tried to find something on a website where and then it's like, by the time you're there, you're somewhere else. 3 hours later, you're like, what was I doing? This just gave me a definition for each one, when they were created, and what they were created for, why I should use one or the other. Because that was my thing. I was like, why does it matter? And it turns out they were made for specific disciplines. I was like, why did I learn that in ninth grade? That would have been really good information. I've been thinking about that for 30 years, right? Conceptual ideas for art based on some historic concepts in AI research. So I had one of the hard things for AI is to recognize in AI imaging, computer vision, were plants, house plants. And I'm fascinated by that idea. The most organic thing was the hardest thing for this computer to see. And so I was like, give me 10 ideas for art installations about this. And it was big. And it did. And they're things I'm interested in. I was like, how does it know me? And so they're in my back pocket but I was like, I don't know if I would have gotten there ever on my own, or I would have stewed on it forever. And now I have some ideas that are seeds that I can build. They won't make themselves. It's not gonna, but it's they're really good, and I just have to I have to gear them a little bit more towards me, right? But it's about, I wanted to share this idea. I think plants and computers are kind of funny. It's these two different things. So I'm going to jump over here because this is my favorite. It took me a while to get there, and it's my favorite thing. It's my go-to prompt. This is my go-to thing I do most. If I'm doing real work or I say this, I need you to act as a prompt generating robot, which is the most I'm telling it to do this, become this thing. You must collect data on users' goals, objectives, preferred output examples, and any other pertinent information that was given to you by the user, me. You need to ask the user more questions until you are certain you can create the best prompt based on the user's request. Your return should be formatted that is both clear and concise. Begin by asking the user about their objectives, expected results, and any other information you might require. This was like a game changer for me. Once I put this in, what targeted most that I always forgot was an audience. Who's the audience of what I'm trying to do? And once I nail that down, I get some of the best prompts. And then it gives you a prompt, you open up a new chat, and you throw it back in, and it starts generating content for you. And it's like, I was like, wait, what? Because at first it was just me trying to think about what to say. And then this thing starts helping you say what you want to say, like pulling it out of you. And somehow, like if it was I love my wife to death, like she's why I'm here. But it was her, I'd be like, why are you being so annoying? Why don't you get my point? Why? And this thing like somehow gets you to get there. It's awesome. So that's in there for you. And then I've tweaked this to work for me, but you can take this and change it too. That's one of my favorite things I've used it for. So for my app, I used that, and then I asked for an action plan and roadmap for an app with advice from Sam Altman, who's the creator of ChatGPT, Steve Jobs, not creator, CEO of ChatGPT, Steve Jobs, then Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. So after each one, I would ask, what would this person say? What would they add? And so when it was all done with that, I said, can you give me an action plan and a roadmap? And it did. It was like a 12-month plan to like a startup. And I was like, okay, too far. I was like, should I quit my job? But like that kind of stuff, that's the amazing stuff that it comes from. Because it's like steps to go to, who to call. Like, I was like, should I patent this idea? Because that's what we all want to do when we have the best. That we're like, I have the best idea. I gotta keep it from anybody before I share it, right? It was like, no, you don't need to do that yet, right? Like, so what I've been working on is so that Battle of Pixel Peak. I wanted to do that, so that's what I've been working on, and so I started with this idea for a book. I meditate. I used to meditate daily. I gave myself a break about a year ago, and June 1st I'll start again. But through the chakra system, so I was like, what if we had a book that was based on the chakra system? It was based on ancient religions, and they were one force, and there was another force that they fought. And the first one would start with the root chakra. And so I used my prompt generating thing to come up with that beginning of that story. And so I typed a prompt in within 1,000. I wanted it in 1,000 words. I was working on a longer version of this, but then I was like, okay, break it down for this workshop. And so in the near future, Earth was on the brink of an unprecedented revolution. Technological advancements in AI and the resurgence of therapeutic psychedelic therapies had set the stage for a transformative era in human consciousness. However, beneath the surface of these promising developments, a deep-rooted conflict had been brewing between two opposing factions. Great intro to almost every story. Like, I told it to pull from Star Wars too. And so I did that. It generated the content, and so then I needed a voice. One of the things I've been trying not to do that's really easy to do is like in the image generation, I did it in the voice too, but is pull from or use just a singular voice or a singular artist. Is that like, I don't want to make art like somebody else. Does that make sense? Like I want to make art like me. I want to use my ideas to make something new. And I'm more interested in that. It's really easy to, like, there's all kinds of styles for other artists. But in 11 Labs, I used, I needed some voices. So 11 Labs is sign in, there we go. A voice generating AI. Let's see, history. And so I fed it my story, and it read it, and let's see if we can I think I can just play it right here on sound.
Title: Harmonic Singularity. In the near future, Earth was on the brink of an unprecedented revolution. Technological advancements in artificial intelligence.
I'll pause it because I can't control the volume. But so I uploaded a sample of Morgan Freeman's voice and Keanu Reeves because I thought it'd be cool to have them like remix their voices and see what that sounded like. And so I got here, and I was like, it narrates the whole story. This is better than some narrations of audiobooks I've listened to. It like has some good tonal qualities, but you can edit all this. You can make it like add chaos and make it the voice more sinister. You can make it happier. You can make it more robotic. Again, I paid for a trial version of this for $5 to try it out. I won't continue it. I just wanted to see if I could do it. But this is where my brain gets I'm not a sound person, but it gets a little spooky to me because I uploaded 2 clips from YouTube, like 2 2-minute clips. That's it, and it generated a voice sample that sounds like human enough to me. And this is the dark side of like AI to me. Like what could be done with this, right? But it's also really cool if you have radio spots or video or anything that needs to be made that you need voices for, right? And you don't know where to get them, or you don't know how to start even that process. So I did that, and then I generated. Let me go into Midjourney, Discord. So Midjourney runs out of Discord. I like it because I've gotten really good at using it. There's 2 more. One's called Dream Studio by Stable Diffusion. It's one of the makes the most realistic stuff. To me, it's harder to use, but it has like the people in the production houses, that's what they're using because it has higher quality value and they can do what they need to do in actual modeling and stuff that I'm not interested in, but it's like that's where the industry is going to is Stable Diffusion and Dream Studio. DALL-E 2, which is made by ChatGPT, I think I can't get it to do what I want it to do. I get frustrated with it, and I've seen amazing stuff from it. It's just not fun for me to use. There it is. I've been using Midjourney since I found out about it in September. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing. The first thing I did was just remix art styles that I knew, like artists that I liked. I would just like make me a landscape with Rothko and Gerhard Richter, and I want to see what that looks like, and with these colors. And I would just like make paintings, basically. I asked for a picture of giant paintings of wine, and it just made these like giant, like 12-foot paintings in a gallery of just grapes falling. And I was like, I want that. I've never seen it before. And then how I got to that, I actually asked for giant paintings of salads, and it did it, and it was just like lettuce, like piled up like grapes. And I was like, that's cool. I've never seen that before. And so for this, I've been just generating a lot of stuff for this talk and for my prompts for. So even I did this. I wanted layouts for PowerPoints because I wanted something new to start with. So this generated all these different layouts for a PowerPoint. So if we talk about job creation, right? A student or someone could take these, turn them into actual usable templates, right? And then sell those on a marketplace, right? So there's a economy that there are slide generating AIs. They suck. It's the first thing I did. Here's my content, make me slides. And I'm like, nope, not gonna do it. But this, I was like, oh. And so the tools I know how to use, Illustrator, Photoshop, come in real handy here because I can do those. Oh, so I asked it, what is AI? And it made this image. That's just like the simple prompt. What is AI? No extra stuff. And then what is AI? So I was trying to generate imagery for this talk. So that's the difference, right? On its own, then I add what a layperson can understand. These are my initial slide decks. And I'm really interested in this guy teach design. And so I'm like, how can I help my students get to point B faster? right? How can I help them be inspired faster versus them just going through the same old stuff that's out there or Google searching stuff, which is the traditional way it's been done for inspiration, or free sites. So this is my first stab at this first image for my my story. Okay, and my prompt is 2050 city, Aeon City HD landscape in the style of spiritual landscape, dark gold and sky blue, urban fairy tale, neo-academian, ultra HD, aerial view, speed painting. And that's from watching stuff. And this is actually not the first one. Let me go. I thought it was. So there's this cool tool that you can use to have Midjourney describe an image. So you can upload an image. So I had it make this. And I just typed in harmonic singularity, near future Earth, sci-fi fan. That's what I typed in, okay? And so I got 4 of those right here. And that's what Midjourney, it makes 4 small scales and then you do an upscale, okay? Pretty easy. I liked that one. These seemed a little too far off from what I was looking for. Then I tried a pixel art forest. I thought that would be cool, but I didn't. I like these, but they're not what I needed. And so I got that. There's my upscaled image. And then I learned about this describe. So you can upload an image to Midjourney and have it describe it. And so I just picked one. I'll do another one. I'll pick 4. It submits that to Midjourney. It's going to generate it. So this is all stuff I've been working on generating, and just my prompts, how I'm working on it. The prompts get better and better at what I want. So here's stuff I generated for the slide deck. So here's stuff I generated a week ago, for the slide deck, okay? Cartoon style, looks like pretty pleasing, right? Like, because I didn't know who was going to be here. I wanted to kind of be open, friendly. I didn't want if anybody that was angry that came, I wanted to have, but I also wanted brain colors to match artificial. So my whole slide deck uses colors that I associate with the brain, right? And so I really like this one. I still really like it. But I wanted more of this. I don't know how I got this, because the prompt is really simple. I just said, highlight the advantages of using AI in the creative field. And so then if we move down here, today I was trying to get more of that. It's another image that was created, graphics that depict AI in action. I find this little baby AI kind of creepy. I don't know why. There's just something there that's like, so early computing, so it did real, like photorealistic. None of these people exist. None of this is not real. Alan Turing, they made him look evil. I don't know why. Like maybe they hate the inventor of the guy that came up with the idea of the Turing test. Maybe test is the key word there. That you can ask for an infographic illustration of anything, and it'll make an infographic, a fake infographic for you. But if you needed this as like force your job, you could fill all that other stuff in with the actual data that you needed. That's pretty cool. See if I can get to the bottom. So I just learned this new one because this just came out as a technique. Knolling, which is a product photography. Every time you've seen a top-down shot of things where lots of product stuff, it's a big. I tried to do it with robots, and it just made really creepy things. So yeah, there's one, and then this one I thought was really nice and like happy. That's what I used in this one here. It's not pulling them up very big. So it just puts them in a nice order. And so you can just do knolling knives, knolling whatever you want, and it will like go and pull them and make make a perfectly ordered. This stuff I teach digital photography. This stuff takes forever to do in the real world. So they're saying in product photography, it's going to like revolutionize stuff, and maybe put a lot of people out of work. So that's the. So I'm upscaling these because I thought they were interesting. I like the style they were in. I'm gonna get down here. Scenes. So a loft apartment scene that's grungy. It looks kind of like a place I'd want to live or go to or make in. I was trying to I finally got to what I wanted, like more futuristic. So just had to take some tweaking, add some color, added some, used flesh pinks and bright blues and shades of purple. So I had to add some color information for it to get there. And then I'd added cyberpunk. You can do a bunch of stuff with feral fluid prompts. Bacteria is another one. That's how I made this image that you posted. Like, so you can tell it to do it in bacteria, and it'll use bacteria as the material for making things. I stumbled on this light bulb thing, and I wanted it so bad. I can't get it to make robot stuff or light bulb stuff. I did the describe thing, and I just got these big light bulb cities. So dark cities. What I'm trying to get down. So these are the how I got the Ada Lovelace image. So so I put her quote in as my prompt, and this is what it gave me, which I thought was pretty awesome. With like taking somebody's quote and getting like, I was a little like, whoa, kind of from it. Because the difference engine was like that's kind of like how it's described, so it's kind of cool. And I didn't use steampunk or anything when I did the first initial prompt. So I got there. So I photoshopped this in and photoshopped some stuff because I wanted some certain things, and then I re-uploaded it. You can use an image as part of your prompt. So I uploaded that image. And then you can weight images, weight words. So I weighted public library. I wanted it to be in a public library. So that the double colons allow you to basically say this is important, or this is more important. And so it put her in a public library. And then I made her British, and I gave it a time frame, 1843, and that's where I got pretty close to. So finally got to that image. And so then I wanted her in a futuristic setting to match my theme of my thing. Okay, here's my image, right? This is what I was looking for. Here's that image, right? I wanted more of this, so I had to describe it, and this is what it starts spitting out. And I'm not happy. I'm like, I want this thing. More. Then I get these, and I'm like, they're too cartoony. I'm also like, as an educator, I'm just like very aware of what images say and stuff. So I was trying not to get too fantastical or anything that could be misconstrued. And then these swerve back on the other side of where I don't want to be. So I tried more. I tried here, this prompt. This is what I got this time when I did the highlighted advantages of AI. I don't know. So, and so this is where I just kept slamming, trying to get this image to do something, and it wasn't. I just couldn't do it. These are what I kept getting. And so the real trick in this, and so then I started working with weights and figuring out, okay, but the real trick is how you use those words and how, like, playing with it and getting it. So when people are like, oh, it's going to take over, it's like, no, people that can describe things, people that can use words really well are going to be the winners because they're going to be able to get the machine to get what we want. So pretty happy with the results, but still nowhere near what I wanted. So there's a graffiti robot. So, Microsoft Designer just came out with it's called Designer. You can basically say, I want a social media post about, and it will get you the image, the text, and everything, and you can basically design or a flyer or a poster. still a little clunky, but it's. I showed it to one of my colleagues, and we're like, "What are we gonna do? Why should we teach?" I was gonna show this one. It's not working. Chimera Painter lets you paint 2D just like a MS Paint, and then makes a 3D creature, but it's broken. Maybe Google's like, well, that's so in the past now. So, a couple of mid-journey stuff that really changes things. Stylize, or in the style of. You can pick any movement, any artist, any architecture. And so once you write your prompt, at the end you write in the style of. And that's where you start to get the good stuff. Like that's so you can combine artists, combine movements, combine stuff. Stylize, basically closely matching the prompt or more artistic, has a range from 750 or 0 to 1,000. I usually work in the 750 because I want more weird artistic stuff. But if you want like exactly what you say, just turn your stylize down. Chaos, how varied that initial grid is, so the variations between the 4 things on your first thing. And then weights. I love weights. You can type in like red house bird. And if you give house a 3, it's considered that's the most important thing. A red, a 1, that's the least important, and bird a 2. It'll make the house will be the most important thing. The color will be the least important thing. So if you wanted a red house, you would make red 3. Does that make sense? You'd make red the most weighted thing. It's the coolest stuff because it's when you can really start getting towards what you want to make in the program. And then aspect ratio. If you're not making anything for Instagram, you might not want a square. So all the cinematic, all the film photography aspect ratios are available. And there's a link to this. And then you can go back to versions and stuff. So you can get each version of Midjourney has a different style to it. So I think that is it. So last thing, and then we'll play. So like I said, I'm really interested in not making things other people have made. Like I like new stuff. I want to remake stuff. And so this is using GPT to write a Midjourney prompt that mixes up. So people have started programming inside of ChatGPT to create variables. And so here, your prompt is your subject. I've did artist 1 is Gerhard Richter, Johnny Ive. I told it to pick a random movement. You can tell GPT, you can say, pick a random artist here. And then tell it what to do, and you tell it what this is. Like, it needs a term, 5 descriptive terms, so it writes your Midjourney prompt. So I've been using this to write Midjourney prompts. And then it will name the new style. It will name it and describe it. So you have something that isn't Picasso or Van Gogh. You have something new that you've created by remixing the other artists. Does that make sense? And I'm so interested in that because that's where I think we excel as humans when we remix other stuff up. So with that.
I have a question about the last kind of subject, the last piece that we're talking about. It's thinking from computational design and generative design, and understanding design as a curation. Mm-hmm. And you're creating prompts and kind of creating algorithms in some way. I think there's a lot of tension about where it's sourcing images from a lot of.
There's cases that are going to the Supreme Court about copyright. Copyright's going to be rewritten. Like it's gonna,
But I think what's interesting is there really a difference in what we do every day?
Right.
You were just saying in this prompt, these are the people that influence you. Put these things together, and then you curate out of those from these suggestions. And so in that kind of sense, where do you see this as where the genius comes from? in curating these pieces, or is there something else like the genius idea that you're a genius that somehow?
That's a deep question. I don't know. I think we're all the most creative things on the planet. Like we made language. Like we made words stand for something, right? Like, does that make sense? Like, and so
Like Picasso is Picasso some other kind of breed?
I think Picasso had skill and timing, and he had a couple great patrons, and a great battle with Matisse that propped him up, and timing and place. We're in different times, right? And I think it was like every kid can write a story now, right? Every kid can take their lived experience, write a story that we could relate to in a way that I'm not like, that's horrible writing, right? And so maybe we can share our lives more. We can share our experiences more. One of the things I've seen Midjourney being used for is people are telling it their dreams and having their dreams like imagined. Because have you ever tried to tell someone your dream and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Right? But now you could like show someone your dream, you know, and like. But yeah, I don't know that seed of genius. I tend to think it's just creativity slammed in with hard work, I guess, you know. So, but yeah, we should go have beers. So.
Yeah, you just showed us one aspect of AI, the creative. What about decision making? We have a problem with our politicians in this country. Will AI can replace them in making decisions? What's best?
Only if we vote on it. Hopefully, maybe it can help people make better decisions. So. Yes.
Ask an AI to come up with, to my understanding, without the right inputs, what would be best for a group of people, because we have to define the group of people that it has to represent. And that would be very complicated, right? So right now, AI takes prompts and then spits out a prediction of the next step or a prediction of maybe how to put that information together. But doesn't it not lack the emotional component of humans and those ethical standpoints that we want to give it? So actually the creators of the AI or the creators of what it's capable of is going to determine what possibilities we even have to consider. Is there anything else to that? What are AIs capable of when it comes to ethics, emotions, any kind of mimicry of an actual human right now?
I am not equipped to answer that question. It's not what I've been studying for the past year. But I got two things I can show. I will say that the companies that are working on this stuff have information that we shouldn't just trust them. But the open source community. So if you go to, I keep thinking I'm in a browser, Hugging Face. So this is the open source AI community. This is where the most innovation is happening. This is what actually is pushing the companies forward. The companies have open sourced their APIs. So this is the community that's actually driving everything better than anything has in the past. So the people, not the companies. And then one thing that really gives me hope is, who does Claude? Is the company that makes Claude has written some what is known as constitutional AI. Basically, AI rules for AI that are good for humans. That when you ask that question, that's where I would point you to start. And that company is at the forefront. And so you have these different companies with different missions. You're right? Anthropic is the company's name. So I would point to Anthropic for that question and who is leading the front and developing these systems that can be done ethically for the good of humans, right? Not the good of corporations, but the good of. And so Anthropic's the company to look at. And then what I know of ChatGPT is a lot of teachers are looking for how do we use this in the classroom? This is from college all the way down to kindergarten, right? And ChatGPT has pages on how to talk about it, ethics of AI, uses of AI, and so it is in the works. It is not the area. I only have a certain amount of hours in a week, right? I have kids and a wife. Now, if I could just be doing AI all the time, I would. But so I have chosen to use my time in the creative sector, right? And because that's where my discipline, that's where my 25 years of schooling is from too, right? I do look forward to people that have, like Shane in philosophy, right? Using it in that domain. People that are in political science, young people in political science right now, using it in that domain. I hope that's the hope. Mine is creativity. It's why I almost didn't get my sabbatical.
I know you want to get into some of the fun
Yeah.
stuff here in just a second, but okay, taking it back into that kind of ethics or, or more general AI type situation, do you see the creativity in generative AI and maybe those systems coming together where you've taken ChatGPT, create prompts, then you take that into, you're using Midjourney and then into video editing and things like that. Do you see as those systems get more and more hooked together as kind of the seed of a AGI?
I don't, only because I follow Melanie Mitchell. She's one of the top AI researchers in the country. We are along. Two things. One thing I heard is corporate America will kill AI because they'll try to make money off of it. But two is the compute power is one thing. We're just not there. And so, but that's the fear, right? A general AI that'll act like humans and take over. I'm not. I've read it. If you want to read the history of artificial intelligence, it's not an easy read. Highly recommend it if that's your question. It's in there, and why it's not is in there. So
Okay, can I follow up on
Yeah.
something that you said? You said corporate America will kill AI.
it's a
I
joke.
know it's
like
a general term, but do you think that there's an ethical responsibility not
to kill AI.
to not kill it?
The question I was asked earlier about it is if we did a pause, right? The good people, the good actors would pause it, but it's out there. Like there's people who have computers, it can run on a smartphone now. And so our good actors and our bad actors have to be in balance so we can get to the harmonic singularity. Just kidding. But it's not a question I'm equipped to ask. So, and I don't, I probably should, but I only have a certain amount of hours a week and I want to make stuff in the world. So.
If you don't mind, I've got one more.
Sure.
Okay. You use Midjourney.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a benefit or taking the cost of entry out of the equation? Do you see a benefit of using a curated technology versus something that's a little bit, or something that you might host and run on your own machine?
The only thing I see right now is speed and time, right? I mean, I'm trying to write my own. That I will do on my own machine. It's not easy though, right? I'm working on training a model on my own art of 25 years. That's what the culmination of my sabbatical is, to do that and show either that it can be done or it just spits out crap, right? But the leap to get there, like I took Harvard's computer science class so I could write that model, understand the code, right? It's not walk over here and make your thing, right? And so again, that thing with time, how can it be used for positivity? That's my that's my stump I'm going to take, right? And that's my place to talk about. And that's where I'm going to focus my research. That's where I'm going to focus my energy, right? There's going to be other people that focus on the dangers. There's going to be other people that focus on the ethics. But if I do everything, then I would do nothing. and I want to do something with my life. I've got about 40 years left, I think. So, but also, I started the internet in 1995, and if you I have learned a new technology constantly, over and over, and I'm doing it again, and we'll do it again. But when I'm like, that sounds cool, then I'm like, no, focus. I'm like, I should go check that out so I can talk about it. But AI has been in video games for a long time, right? Like NPCs. Now, imagine having better NPCs that you could actually interact with. And then I would say with ChatGPT, I was doing some work, and Bard just started telling me it created all the image generators created by Bard. I was like, no, you're not. No, it's not. And so again, that's where real learning comes in, so we can discern facts, right? They're an assistant. They're not an instead of, right? And that's why when someone's like, well, students will quit going to college, they can't, because they still need to know when it's not right. And that's when your domain knowledge comes. My 25 years of domain knowledge comes in handy, because I'm like, that's wrong, right? I can do that. Our kids can't, and so we have to teach them. And that's, to me, it's like the biggest, University was smart, it'd be the biggest advertising ever. Go to college so you can know if ChatGPT is right, To
kind of add to that point, I think this is where our personal critical thing is going to come more into place. But I had a separate question as to, as these technologies advance more and more in the next couple of years, do you see prompt engineering becoming a necessary skill set in the workforce?
I've read 2 different articles this week. One is there's an OpenAI class to be a prompt engineer, right? And then there's things that are saying is different. There's one, it's prompt engineers for the underlying engine, right? So teaching the AI how to write its prompts, right? And then there's one where it's the top side, right? What I put it at ChatGPT. I think it's a buzzword. I think it'll be a job title for 6 months. Just like AI, once one learns to do something, it can be shared in the other one, right? Once a model's shared, anybody can use it. The same, once a prompt is shared, anybody can use the prompt. The value add of a prompt engineer right now is really high. But once everybody figures out how to use ChatGPT to write their own prompts, it's back down here.
So similar to how when Google first started, only some people knew how to use it, but then over time
it just ramps up faster now, though, I would say. So, but yeah, it's the beginning. You'll see all kinds of fun buzzwords in the next 6 months, I'm sure. So, but my thing that I would say is, if you're into ethics, follow ethics and use this tool to augment and become really good at it, right? If you're into creativity like I am, be aware of those. I know where the bumpers are. I know where it is, and I know, that's why I try not to put any artist names in my prompt, right? Because I don't want to do that. And it's when I make art, I try not to make art like other artists, right? I was trained to do that, right? And so follow your passion, be ethical, be good. But if yours is to, figure out if there's general AI, how far, use the tool to get there, right? Find the research. But what I'm finding out, and I'm a lifelong learner, I love learning. My time is finite. And the more technical the stuff gets, the more I have to go back in and learn some more stuff. And funny thing, I'm teaching a drawing class next winter, an advanced drawing class. What's advanced drawing? And it's this skill that's so far away from what I'm doing right now. But I'm passionate about it, and I think it's important that people still do things with their hands. And I think through doing that, it remixes back in. Does that make sense? So I don't know how to say it. I just I want to say it's going to be awesome, but it's probably going to suck too. So anyway, any questions? Anybody want to do a live prompt? You can do ChatGPT on your phone, by the way, Midjourney on your phone. If you're here, you've probably already played with it. You're probably like, does he have any secrets that I don't know already? I did put a link to some tools And then these newsletters, if you want your brain to fill up every Monday and about every Wednesday with more AI tools and news, then you can like the good, the bad, the ugly. This is what I would subscribe to. Shows up in your mailbox. New tools usually on Monday, bad news on Wednesday usually. That's how I feel like it's been going. A lot of them have the same stuff. The AI Exchange I pay for, and you get access to a private Slack community and a lot of private how-to, like programming your own chatbot. Like, that's not on Google. That is like a mess of somebody trying to get you to click yes on their YouTube video. Midjourney info, and then for like the latest stuff in AI every week, I follow Matt Wolf, and I pretty much on YouTube, and I usually watch it at night before I go to bed, and then I have nightmares. It's not nightmares. It's just like it's so fast every week. There's new stuff, and then Tokenized. That's all my Midjourney stuff. He just got a by Christian Heldorn in Germany. He's got a great YouTube channel that's just focused on Midjourney and then really good at getting you to write really good prompts to get to where you want to go. So that's kind of it for me.